I could smell him. I could hear him breathing. And the sergeant said, Leo, take the point. And I took it down on my belly like a damn snake till I ran right into Charlie. I couldn't see him in the dark. But I tried to tell him, don't do this. Slip away, man. We're both gonna die today. But he shot me. He shot me here in my face.
Kyle.
This is Eamon.
And I'm Keith.
And that was hard to follow.
And welcome to the Highlander Rewatched podcast, the podcast where we watch every episode of Highlander the series and talk about it. This is episode number 4. Depending on where you're watching it, Hulu, iTunes, the DVD, it's The Innocent Man. First aired October 24th, 1992. Directed by Jorge Montesi. Who I believe is Chilean and was like in like some war camp, and I don't know. He has like some crazy story, and I think he directed episode 2 as well.
Yeah.
And it was written by Dan Gordon, and this is also his second episode. Guest stars in this episode are Vincent Schiavelli playing Leo Atkins. He's like a huge character actor. He's in everything.
I have noted here, Batman Returns, another James Bond actor. He's in Tomorrow Never Dies, so that's an interesting Highlander Bond trend going here. And he's on a pretty good episode of The X-Files.
Huh. I remember seeing him. He's in like Amadeus. He's in the first scene of Amadeus. Yeah. He was in Ghost.
Oh, wow.
And he sadly died in 2005, which I guess is a while ago now. But
is he Death to Smoochie?
Yes, I believe he was the assassin.
He's Buggy Ding Dong.
Yeah, Buggy Ding Dong.
Wow.
Death to Smoochie. And then Gary Chalk is Lemoyne. I guess that's how you say his name. And we'll talk a little bit about his credits when we get to him.
Someone else I want to mention, the reporter, the lady reporter.
Oh yeah, I don't remember her name.
She is in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Huh.
She's the first woman that gets murdered in that.
Interesting.
And I had her name written down. Yeah, Amanda Wyss, I guess.
Okay. Well, she's one of my favorite characters probably in this series.
She's also in Better Off Dead.
Can't stand this character. This is one of the most annoying characters in this show. But we're going to talk about her.
Yeah.
So anyway, just a quick episode recap. This is from IMDb. Sensing danger, the immortal Lucas Desiree requests a visit from his old friend Duncan MacLeod. Lucas is beheaded just before Duncan arrives, and the murder is pinned on a shell-shocked Vietnam vet. Duncan knows this man to be innocent, and that the other immortal is to blame. To avenge his friend and to prevent an innocent man from going to jail, Duncan sets out to find the real killer. First off, that episode description is not entirely accurate, because I don't know whenever Lucas summons Duncan to come and visit him because he senses danger.
Yeah, that's right at the beginning.
He summons him?
Well, like he
Well,
invited
he's like going
him out.
to visit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought he invited him out.
Oh, I don't remember any sensing danger thing.
I don't remember the danger, but maybe it might just be a throwaway line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So this episode starts with a hitchhiking like war vet played by Vincent Scaglievi, and he's like mentally ill. He's like PTSD, I guess, and he gets like teased by some like teenagers on the side of the road.
I have a problem with this episode right away. He's got all these like, you know, his junk, his cans, and his belongings, and the teens like pull in front of him, and they're like, "Oh, jump in." He immediately ditches all his stuff to jump in the car with these people, and I'm like, if you're like this hoardy guy, these are all your possessions in the world, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna hang out with these kids."
Yep.
Which then, meanwhile, Duncan and Tess are coming, and also like it all looks ADR. So like,
it's all ADR, and it's all awkward.
Yeah, so it like looks so weird, but they're like messing around and not paying attention to the road.
Yep.
And they keep cutting to the PTSD guy, Buggy Ding Dong. Like, he's like pulling a phone out, and he's like threatening to call the Department of Transportation and all this stuff. And he keeps cutting to them not paying attention, and then to him. Like the whole time, I thought they were teasing that they were about to like pizza this guy on the road.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, I was just very surprised.
No
I was like,
payoff.
is Duncan going to get accused of murdering this guy? But he's an immortal, so he doesn't die.
And also, just a side note, we just mentioned ADR, which happens frequently on TV and terrible movies and all sorts of stuff. That's additional dialogue recording. So that's when they don't get good sound, and they have to record it later. So that's what that stands for. So anyway, they're messing around, and they're just playing with like the radio, and they can't decide what to put on. It's like really cheesy. It's so bad. And then Duncan ends up putting on what music he wants to listen to, and it's like very stuffy, like classical music that is like really not driving music. Like,
It's really what you want to listen to when you're cruising in a convertible.
yeah, going on vacation. But so we cut back to Buggy Ding Dong, and he hears like sword fighting in the woods. So he goes to check it out, and he sees like a quickening happen. There's like lightning in the background. So he's clearly witnessed an immortal die. Back on Duncan and Tess's side, I guess the car breaks down or
Yeah, I don't
something.
know if the car broke down or if they were just lost. Was the hood up?
Both
At one
of those
point-
things are maybe true.
I think it was lost, and he wanted to like cool down the car because like you think he goes to the river and pours some water in the thing.
So when he does go to the river, what happens? Duncan needs to get water by the stream, and has like a little musical number he does.
Oh, the humming.
So we have this clip because it's really good of Duncan just getting water by the stream, and
This is great.
this is fantastic. It's
We should do this more often.
Can that be the theme song to Highlander? Just Thank you for reminding me about that.
Yeah,
Keith.
that's
Is it
fantastic.
vaguely to like Yankee Doodle?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Yankee Doodle and really strange direction for that scene. I don't know.
This is weird, right? Because he like senses the quickening,
Oh,
and is
right.
like physically harmed.
He
by
falls over, right?
Oh, yeah,
it's
he-
so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, that's a whole new element. And also, how far away was that? Like, they only sense people when they're close.
Well, yeah, none of this makes sense. Like, but we haven't seen him witness an immortal's death yet, have we?
No.
So it
No.
could be related to that. Like, if another immortal is present when an immortal's killed, maybe it's like some overpowering experience.
I don't know. When he realizes Desiree is dead, just leaves. Like, then it just cuts to, like, them back home. Like, in Seacouver, which...
Why go all the way back home?
Home.
Well, he's got Tess with him. If he
Yeah.
thinks he's gonna have to throw down, why not?
I
like,
think, yeah, I
drop
think
off-
that's the implication. But then he brings Richie with him.
Yeah,
yeah, that part's puzzling.
doesn't make any sense.
He's like, Richie, like, Tess, go home, do lady stuff. Richie, get in the car. We're going to go murder somebody.
Is Duncan MacLeod using outmoded gender roles?
Probably. He does.
I mean, he
is probably
he learned
bogged
those
down
roles
Yeah.
back when like people were still bought and sold like cattle.
Oh,
So like,
jeez.
Ugh.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know whether he had to pay a dowry to get Tess. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So, Buggy Ding Dong, the war vet, it's also awful because it's such a heavy subject because he's suffering
Yeah.
a mental disease.
But
But
it's very sad.
very sad. So anyway, he ends up investigating this quickening that he witnesses. Goes into a cabin, sees a decapitated body, and
the
picks up the sword.
Yeah.
And then is confronted by a sheriff who's
Yep.
like, "What did you do? You did this."
And the
so he
sheriff's
gets-
completely alone.
Yeah.
He's by himself and just walks in.
So I guess the implication is, well, the sheriff believes that Buggy Ding Dong committed this murder.
That's right. So, like, what so Duncan's going back no matter what. Nothing, like, brings him back out, right?
Nothing extra
Yeah.
other than knowing that Desiree's dead.
And then there's a reporter. Is the reporter coming now? Like, she's at the antique shop for some
'cause
reason?
she's
Yeah.
talking to Tess.
It's so weird because Duncan leaves with Richie.
Right.
And then Tess goes back inside. Like, she says goodbye. And, like, the reporter's just there. And, like, a customer's there, too. And, like, she's got... I don't know. It's very... I don't know what the timeline is. But it feels like it happened right afterwards.
Yeah.
and like she was just waiting inside.
Like, what is she reporting on?
Well, she's looking into Slan's murder. Right? Like,
Right.
that's what she's doing. And I guess she finds out about another decapitation, which is Desiree.
Right.
So that's her. I mean, I think it's fair to say 2 decapitations in 1 month is the story.
One in Seacouver and one in Stevenson.
Yeah.
Also, they say Stevenson 50 billion times in this episode. Stevenson.
The whole reporter angle is interesting, I guess. Like, I feel like, again, this is something held over from the movies. Like, they introduced, like, there's the cop element, like, with Sergeant Powell, like, he's investigating what's going on. And that was something that was in, like, the movies. Like, the police are, like, looking into these murders. And then I guess, I don't know, they got bored with that, and they were like, oh, maybe a reporter should be the one to look into it. I guess it's not a bad angle, but I think it bogs down the story. Like, it's one of those things, like, where I guess they were trying to be like, oh, well, what happens to the bodies? Somebody finds the bodies. It's like, for the purpose of TV, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like once they abandon this idea, spoiler alert, down the road, of, like, having people find these bodies all over the place, and, like, I think they get to the core of the story more.
Because it really does bog it down, right? Because now you're all of a sudden applying all this logic to this thing that's fundamentally magic.
Yeah.
And that's like, all right, come on, let's take
It's
all
not
the
the
fun
point
out
of
of
the
this.
show. Yeah. So, yeah, Tess is pretty short with her. Oh, her name is, the reporter's name is Randy McFarland.
Oh,
and she's a
boy.
TV reporter. All the
Randy.
dialogue is just... So, Sergeant Powell also goes to Stevenson because he wants to investigate the murder as well. And so he's talking to the sheriff, whose name is... what's the sheriff's name?
My
didn't
notes
write
say
that
Sheriff Bad Guy.
Sheriff. Shoot, I'm forgetting his name. The sheriff.
The sheriff.
Bad guy Southern sheriff. He describes Lucas Desiree as old Southern stock to Sergeant Powell. By the way, Sergeant Powell is a black gentleman.
Yep.
And he's like, his ancestors probably owned your family.
Yep.
And it's like...
It's one of the most uncomfortable... There are a few very uncomfortable moments in this episode in particular, one of which will come later. Yeah, that was...
That's horrifying.
It's horrifying. So also the sheriff is like super infatuated with like Confederate stuff. Like he's like painting. Like he's got Confederate paintings he's doing in his room. He's got like Confederate sword somewhere. I don't know. It's like very Southern. He's Southern. A lot of the townspeople are Southern. So I was like, where is this place? Like where is Seacouver? And where is this place? Like, how far did they go?
It's on the South Carolina-Vancouver border.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering where geographically they are. And so when Duncan and Richie are driving back to Stevenson, they talk about why Desiree moved there, Lucas Desiree. And Duncan says, well, it's not like now when you can grab your mistress and have a quickie in the woods. He's like, because in these small towns, everybody talks. And it was like, what? Like, what are they talking about?
That doesn't make sense. Also, Richie's going on and on and on about how, like, bumblefucky Stevenson is. And, like, they don't have stop signs or, like, traffic lights or this or that. When they show Stevenson, like, I saw a stop sign. Like, there was one, like, right there.
So then we do get a flashback, though, that tells us about how Duncan knows Desiree, right? Which, like, kind of loops in some of this Confederate
Right.
stuff.
So Desiree was a Confederate officer.
Right.
And Duncan was captured during the Civil War for freeing slaves.
And he's clearly, like, a Union soldier, too.
Right.
So he fights in the Civil War is now what we know.
Right. And I think, looking this up, it's 1863 is according to the Watcher Chronicles, the year we flash back to. And so even though Lucas Desiree is on the Confederate side, I guess we get a little of his character, like he's not a bad guy. Like the prisoners need water. He makes sure they get it. He seems to be fairly noble. I don't know.
Yeah. One thing about this scene that I want to bring up is the use of the N-word.
Yep.
Like, and I know it's like this is the time where like this word would be used if no other time. Still made me uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I'm just
there was no
that.
no need to say it.
Yeah, like
in a Saturday
somebody
afternoon
wrote
adventure.
That. Yeah,
show.
it's like this is a show where it's like immortal people fight with swords under their trench coats. N-word.
So they're gonna hang.
They're getting him ready, and then it cuts, and then I think it goes back to Stevenson.
Yeah, so they're interrogating Leo, who's the vet, Buggy Ding Dong.
Buggy Ding Dong.
And he's like having like flashbacks to Nam. And I mean, we can kind of get into what his interrogation was like a little bit here, because if it turns out that Sergeant Powell also was in Nam.
It kind of seems like they're setting him up to take a ride. Like,
you're trying my patience, Leo. You talk, but you don't say anything.
I'm trying.
Tell me again.
I don't know nothing I didn't know 5 minutes ago.
He's having like flashbacks to Nam. They think
they're interrogating him in the room with Sheriff Bad Guy's Confederate paintings.
Well, it seems like his office and not like an interrogation room.
Yeah, I guess it's a small town.
Yeah.
Right.
So, turns out Sergeant Powell doesn't think Leo did it for some reason. I think because of, I don't know, something.
He just gets
He's
a
got
vibe
a hunch
or something.
that it wasn't him. The whole reason Richie comes on this trip is because, like, Duncan has this plan that Richie is going to pretend to break into his car and get arrested.
Oh, yeah, so he can talk to...
So he gets in jail. So then
Buggy,
Duncan can come in and, like, set the story straight, get him out. But while he's in there, have a few words with Leo and find out what's going on.
Right, that's like the whole cockeyed scheme, where, like, there were much simpler ways. Like, you could have said, like, I'm his brother or his lawyer or something.
Or it could have said, I'm a reporter, like...
The
cop thought the cop basically tells him, "Oh, why didn't you just say you were a reporter? I would have told you this."
Right.
Like he basically says that.
So yeah, Leo says it wasn't him. Leo also says when he found the body, it was hacked to pieces. So part of me wondered if that was just colorful language, or did he, like, in the interim when the beheading happened, and also in this part of Highlander, like, the police are finding bodies that are decapitated. So did this when the guy was murdered by an immortal? Did that immortal then just start hacking him up into pieces to, like, hide the body?
Well, maybe. If his whole, if his whole plan was that he had to stitch up this kind of bonkers homeless man, like, that makes sense. Because, like, do you think this guy who's, like, undergoing these very tragic, like, PTSD flashbacks is going to, like, surgically remove someone's head with, like, a razor-sharp sword? Like,
right.
You got to kind of...
So he could have done that after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, to play up that, like, this was somehow done by a mentally ill person.
Right.
Not by a stone-cold killer.
Sure.
So then we're about to get into this great diner scene, and the establishing shot for the diner is of the back of a truck.
Yep.
And what does that bumper sticker say?
It says, "Save the loggers, shoot an environmentalist."
There you go. I just want to say, maybe a quarter of this episode takes place in this diner.
There's a lot.
They are in there for so long,
and it doesn't really do anything either.
Nope.
Well, I feel like the whole time they were just trying to establish how, like, kind of backwards this town is, and they spent so much time doing it. It's like,
yeah, you don't need it.
It was continual.
Stevenson.
And so, like, Richie makes, like, a weird Deliverance reference. He's like, if they start playing, like, the banjo in here, I'm out of here. Like, again, they're gonna rape him or something.
I didn't even think of that as a Deliverance reference, but oh god.
Yeah. Duncan ends up having, like, it out with this guy, and gives this amazing speech. This dude hates tourists, hates environmentalists, hates liberals in general. Everything.
Can we talk about the most disgusting thing that happens in this diner? Because Duncan orders an orange juice and a Coke.
Yeah.
What?
Well, that's what I'm...
This is going to taste disgusting.
Well, I think he's ordering a Coke for himself and an orange juice for Richie. That's how I read it.
But, like, Richie,
Like he's a little kid.
Yeah.
but Richie goes on to order his
Like
own
some-
meal.
Well, I guess at this
meal.
point, let's just talk about what Richie orders, because they play it up for big laughs.
Yep.
And there's even a cut in the scene.
And
like,
it pays off.
there's a cut. So Richie starts ordering. There's a cut. They cut away to, what's her name? Angie McDonald. What? No, not Angie.
Oh, the reporter?
Yeah, Fergie.
Fergie, Rudy, or what is it? Reggie?
Randy
McFarlane.
interviewing Sergeant Powell. And then they cut back to Richie, like he's been ordering for 10 minutes. So I put together his whole order here, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And again, this is played for, like, big laughs and really takes up, like, a minute of possible storytelling.
Nothing's ever special here. Try meatloaf.
No, I'll try number 4.
Number 4.
And
doesn't take
I
her
would like
suggestion.
The cheeseburger, but with processed cheese and sweet pickles on the side. Tomato, lettuce, onion, ketchup, mustard. Extra mayo. And not that light stuff. Only the real stuff. If you can only get the light stuff, forget about it. And I would like that well done with onion rings and French fries on the side. You know, so I might tell you what, I'm gonna splurge actually. Make that a double.
That's the punchline. Make it a double.
Oh! You just know what I want, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ordering a well done burger, no good, Richie.
Yep.
No good.
That's such a bad scene.
Extra mayo.
That's so played for laughs, and it's not
very funny.
It's very, very funny.
And the entire scene before this has been this logger guy.
Yeah, this like tense, like, you know, Michael Moore-esque like opining on like the plight of like laborers in America.
Because like the spotted owl is crushing their trade.
Right, and
But it gets so violent so fast. Like also like they're having lunch and this man's drunk.
Right.
So like it's already coming from a dark place. And then it just escalates so quickly. Like he's getting in Duncan's face and then Duncan says, "I'm just trying to eat." And this guy's response is to try to punch him. Like the provoking line is, "I'm just trying to eat."
Yep, and that's I've had it. I'm sick of this.
That's it. Tourist.
And then Duncan's response, when of course like Duncan martial arts is his way out of this.
Yeah.
And responds thusly.
What do you want, tourist?
Just something to eat. I'm sorry the mill closed or the well's dried up or the grasshoppers ate your crop or your life isn't what you hoped it would be. But I'm a friend of Lucas Desiree's. We're just here to find out how he died.
Awesome. So I want to just take note. So the actor that plays that character, the angry trucker logger guy, Gary Chalk, this dude has the most prolific IMDb of maybe anybody on this show. He was Colonel Chekhov on Stargate SG-1.
Woo.
He plays Optimus Prime in so many Transformers incarnations.
Wow.
He is even, I think he's, Optimus Primal
from
Beast Wars. He's Dr. Robotnik in Sonic. He's Turbo in Reboot.
Wow.
This dude has a huge resume. He has 341 acting credits on IMDb.
Is he Optimus Prime in the Michael Bay movies?
No, that's they got the original.
The original guy, I think,
okay.
is in that one.
Michael Cohen or whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, all these like small character actors are fun seeing in Highlander. Turns out they kind of asked the waitress about Lucas, and she says he like kept himself. He was a nice guy. She says she never saw the sheriff and Lucas in the same room together. She's like, it's like they were trying to stay, like, not be together.
Interesting.
And it's like, okay, so I was like, this whole time I'm like, why did they even fight? I don't understand, like, the MO of this whole thing.
Well, they never explain like several things about this, right? Because they never explain why they fight. They never explain this like Southern Immortals like fascination with Confederate stuff. Like the thing I thought they were going for was like at some point they show Desiree like describing why he fights for the Confederacy, and he's like, you know, you fight alongside like the people you're with, and like everyone's describing like what a gentleman he is.
So that's in a flashback that's soon to happen, and so Duncan gets hung and gets buried, and Desiree digs him out because presumably if he was not dug out, he would lay there forever.
Yeah.
Well, depending on how shallow the grave was.
Right.
Sure.
So he does him a service, and he like sets him free, tells him how to get home to the north. But then they have kind of a philosophical conversation about war and loyalty, and it's good.
Yeah, it's interesting, and they're explaining why he's fighting for a side that some would consider unsympathetic in this whole thing. So I was waiting for this the sheriff bad guy to represent kind of like the like a twisted like darker face of this, that like he's someone who's like maybe also was there for very wrong reasons,
right.
And maybe he and Desiree have history because of this, because like one of them's trying to be like this gentlemanly representation of this community, and this other guy is maybe just like malevolent and wants to talk about owning people.
Right. So I had written this down. So I have, and we'll see this in coming episodes. The show at this point takes a weird turn, I think, in which they are just replicating movie plots. And I feel like this is not really supposed to be the episode. I think what you just described, Kyle, is the episode. It's like, there's, again, a strong moral core, and that's where the show's the best. And it's like, you know, like, I mean, I don't know, what are wars fought about? Like, is it about loyalty? And, like, also, like, what side you're on over time is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, you know, maybe he fought 150 years ago in the Civil War for the wrong reasons. Do you forgive somebody 150 years later for things they thought? You know what I mean? Like, those are sort of interesting themes the show brings up. And I feel like this episode had at its core, like, they could have had an interesting, like, maybe the sheriff was a northerner and, like, he's still fighting that war to him. Like,
I mean, there's also a parallel with Buggy being a war veteran.
That's true.
Fits in there, too.
And, like, what it does. But I feel like this is just, like, Rambo. And they were like, he has PTSD. And, like, that seemed to be, like, the plot. It's like, oh, he flipped out in the woods and started killing people. That's what this episode's about. And as we get into some other episodes in this season, like the next couple, it's like, oh, this is just that movie plot superimposed on Highlander characters. And I feel like this was like a second draft of the script that wasn't supposed to be this. That, like, that vet character didn't exist, and that there was a much better episode here. Because I think all the flashback stuff is strong, and we also don't even really get to know Desiree. There's no flashbacks with the sheriff.
Nope.
Also, did we even mention, by the way, the sheriff's immortal? I don't think we...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sheriff's immortal. Yeah.
He's the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't get to know Desiree, really. Like,
No.
You don't get to hear anything about what contact they've had since, like, 1863.
Sure.
Right.
Also, like, so Desiree and this sheriff basically live in the same town. So, I mean, did he kill him just because of the game?
But Desiree, this is weird. They say Desiree had lived there for 12 years. And I don't know how long the sheriff had been there.
Right.
Presumably
Also,
not new. I don't think they ever implied that he's, like, the new sheriff. But it's like, they've lived for this long. Like, I don't know where that subplot was. Like, yeah, there was no motivation for them to kill each other, I didn't think.
Here's another question I just had about the immortal Spidey sense. Does that turn off?
Or
Like,
is it just constantly, like, ringing in your
yeah,
head?
that's what I wanted. Like if you're like hanging out and the immortals in your town, or like when two immortals are hanging out together, is it always just like?
So maybe it was just annoying. Like,
Yeah,
he was just like,
he just
"Fuck
got
this
fed
guy."
up, and it's like I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to move.
No.
Sorry, dude.
I don't think that ends up being it. Because, like, then, like, anytime immortals were fighting, man, that'd be distracting.
Yeah, it would.
Or maybe that's just how that's the magical element that forces the game to end. It's that, like, whenever they see each other, they're so irritated that they must kill.
Yep. I think we solved it.
Probably. So Leo is cleared, I guess, or not cleared, but he's going to go back to the city with Sergeant Powell for, like, a psychiatric evaluation or something.
Right.
And so the townspeople aren't keen on this. And neither is the sheriff, I guess, because he thinks he's the one that... Or doesn't think, but he wants to blame him.
Right.
So they kind of organize, like, a posse. And so one of the guys in the bar, they get a call. The waitress answers. I thought this was amazing. And she's there to notify this guy whose name, she says... Tommy Roddy, it's for you. Tommy Roddy. So he gets a call and then goes out to join.
You know Tommy Roddy's name, but not the sheriff.
That's true. But we also I have copious notes on this episode. I think I have 6 pages of notes, and somehow I've not written down the sheriff's name yet.
All you need to know is that he's the sheriff.
Yeah.
He wears that outfit the whole episode. It's
the whole
fine.
episode.
Yep.
But
Well, this mob they get together to, like, try to get Leo. This is also troubling to me because they're all wearing, like, white hoods.
Yeah.
well, they're almost like they're almost a little creepier than that. 'Cause
They're
almost
like they come
burlap
out,
sacks.
Yeah, they come
Yeah.
out of the vans. Like, so they surround Sergeant Powell's truck. They come out of the vans looking like Elephant Man cosplay characters.
Yep.
So meanwhile, while this is going on, Richie has met up with the reporter, and they're, like, following.
Using her police scanner. And he
Yeah.
just gets in the back of her van. Like, he's just like, hey, like, nice van. He's like, you got a police scanner? Like, let's go follow him. And she's like, okay, get in the back. And it's like, who are you? Like, she's never met him.
And Duncan also suspects that they might try something.
So
to
I
get
guess he
Leo.
follows them in his car.
Yeah. So, like, they do, like, the car breaking down kind of thing. Or not even that. There's just, like, cars in the road.
Yeah.
So the sheriff the sheriff's officer who's driving, he's like, oh, we need to stop. And it's,
Yeah.
like, real obvious he's in on it. And then it gets weird. Because they're, like, trying to, they're basically trying to, like, lynch this guy.
Yeah.
Essentially is what's happening. And the detective is there to stop them.
Yep.
Meanwhile, But, like, the camera is there, too. Like, the reporter is trying to film this. But then Duncan goes around, he starts, like, doing stealth takedowns.
Yeah, he's like,
these
taking them
rednecks.
down one by one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is broad daylight. Like, everybody can see each other.
Then, it's like, why did you even bother taking out these guys one-on-one? Because he ultimately solves this conflict through yelling.
Yep.
He screams. There's the one guy with like a rifle, and he just goes right up to him, and he grabs the shaft of the rifle, puts it in his chest, and he's like, "Shoot me!" And it's just like he scares them off because he's just a maniac. They all scatter. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Such a wimpy lynch mob. I'm like, come on, guys.
Duncan's clearly being a maniac, but then.
Is this your idea of justice?
Yeah, like, this is such a weird plan because, like, the cop is there. First off, his hackles have to be up because this is the third time in 4 episodes, basically, that you've interacted with this guy.
Yep.
So, whoa. Like, you already know this is a problem.
And it's always like, oh, McLeod, what are you doing here?
It's like, oh, you happen to know another dead guy? But, like, what if this had gone wrong, which it almost certainly should have? Like, he is on this guy's radar. And, like, I think that was, like, a shotgun. So, like, he has it in his chest. Like, if he gets a hole blown in his chest...
Oh, what's he gonna do?
And then it's just, like, he can't go back to the antique shop because this cop's gonna go
say
look...
goodbye, C. Coover.
Yeah. Because the cop is gonna be there. It's not like he was alone in the woods. Like, this is a life-altering decision.
There's a news reporter.
Yeah.
Like, to film it.
Your body will be on film and seen by a cop.
Like a reporter and a police officer have witnessed you get shot point blank in the chest.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's a bad
Even
plan.
if it's not, even if he doesn't get shot, he's on national TV for that, like, heroic stunt he pulls.
Heroic muscle man. So, like, scares Hicks away by yelling.
So they all go away, and I guess that's kind of the end of that part of the plot. And then Duncan just goes to Lucas Desiree's cabin where the sheriff is waiting just because fighting. Like,
Yeah, there was no groundwork laid for that. There was no gauntlet ever thrown down. Like,
and also the sheriff and Duncan have very few interactions.
Yeah.
Like leading up into this point, which is kind of weird. Other than just, I guess, the fact that Duncan knows it must have been him.
Yeah.
So he's going to come after him.
What puts Duncan on? And does Duncan get that sense when he meets the sheriff?
He kind of does. They shoot it weirdly in this episode. I don't think they figured out how to get like the buzz down right. Like,
it doesn't track. Like, it doesn't seem like something's off.
This whole episode doesn't track. So they start going at it, and I think it's maybe the first or maybe second time in the series where there's like sparks and shit flying off their swords, which is, I guess, cool. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure at one point they hit a tree stump and sparks fly out of the tree stump. And I'm like, no, that's not. Sparks don't fly out of trees.
So I wonder if that's just like I wonder if they just can't control it, right? Because, like, are the sparks physical? Because, like, they might have, like, I forget what they use.
I was looking this up.
They, like, do a wire up the sword or something,
Yeah,
right?
so they use the same trick in the movie, because the swords are sparking all the time. It's like a fireworks show in the movie. They have a car battery, and they have a wire that goes up, like, their leg, down their shirt sleeve, and attaches to the sword. So when they hit them together, they spark. However, they can't fight for too long, because the swords get really hot, and then the actors were getting electrical shocks.
Oh my god!
So I mean, I guess it's cool, like just the visual flair.
Yeah.
I guess it makes up for like a little bit of like maybe some clunky choreography. So they fight a bunch. Well, it ends with Duncan cutting his head off.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Duncan wins.
Duncan wins. Yeah. Oh, also, it should be noted, like the swords I think are interesting that each immortal uses. Like, in the first episode, Slan has this, like, big broadsword. Mm-hmm. It's got, like, shit sticking out of it. It's, like, real angular.
Bat wings almost.
Yeah, and it's, like, it kind of fits the character. And then we find, like, Lucas Desiree's sword was, like, a Confederate sword. But the sheriff, which I still don't know his stupid name, he has, like, a broadsword or something. Like,
make any
and
sense.
We know nothing about this guy.
Yeah.
So,
but
like,
he's
anything
definitely,
could
like,
make...
Southern, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was just a little weird that he had, I thought, a broadsword.
Yeah, it was, like, huge. I don't...
Yeah,
it was.
And I mean, Duncan has a katana, not some sort of like Scottish rapier or something. But they explain that eventually, like, and it's kind of cool. But usually the sword kind of matches the character a little bit, which is a fun kind of part of Highlander. But yeah, I kind of couldn't figure out what his sword was about. So yeah, they cut his head off. There's a giant quickening which explodes the cabin.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what was in the cabin that blew up, but the whole cabin blows up. It's awesome.
It's pretty epic. But why didn't the cabin explode
Before?
at the first quickening?
Maybe they
in
were.
it?
Well, yeah, they were inside because the body
Yeah.
was inside unless you move the body. Which also, then, like, what's the deal with the burying? Does he?
So let's hold on. We're gonna get to
This
that's the very
doesn't
end of the
make-
episode. Hold on, wait 1 second. So that's the tag. So at the end of the episode, everyone's back in Seacouver. Sergeant Powell's just hanging out with Duncan, and he's like, "We're taking Leo to like a home or something, or putting him on a bus somewhere."
Yeah.
They don't know where he's. I don't remember where he's.
Yeah,
going.
they just say he's gonna put him on a bus. Like he's going
Yeah.
just to be someone else's problem, I guess. And Leo comes in. He wants to sell his he has a medal. He's like, "Do you buy all medals?" And
he's
it's
got
like
a
a
Purple
purple
heart, yeah.
So Duncan's like, "Oh, maybe I can lend you some money." So Duncan gives him like a wad of cash.
Yep.
And then Duncan like sneaks the medal back into Leo's
That's a
pack,
nice little moment.
which is nice.
Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, and like medals should be universally viewed as like good signs, right? But like his PTSD comes from being shot in the face, like the event for which he presumably gets the Purple Heart.
Yeah, because he says at some point the doctor said that a bullet, like that's a weird thing because he has like PTSD, but they also were like the bullet went in your brain and made you like ill.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he sick from PTSD or is he sick from like having a bullet lodged in his head?
Yeah. So at first I was thinking like, oh, is this going to be something like he needs to leave this war behind? Like he can't carry around this reminder of like the horror he went through. He's trying to give this up. And that's what I thought as it was ongoing. And then when Duncan gives it back to him, it's like, oh.
Well, but he
that's
thinks
going to be a
but
mentally
that is
jarring moment.
So he does say when he sells it to him, Leo says, "Buggy Ding Dong." To quote the great Buggy Ding Dong, he says, "No need to hold on to the past more than one day in a man's lifetime." I was like, wait, that's like, why wasn't that the theme of the episode? Like,
Yeah.
again, like this again seems like this is two scripts put together. Like that stuff seems to track with whatever sort of war story is like Civil War stories going on. And it doesn't match up. Like that line is like the last line practically uttered in the episode. And it's like the thesis, it would seem, of a good episode. But no, that's not the theme of this episode at all. That theme is not present ever.
Yeah.
No.
So then we get the tag. So what's the tag, Kyle?
So the tag is, I guess it's supposed to be Desiree.
Well, they say, what do they say? Oh, what about Lucas? And Duncan's like, I took care of him?
Yeah.
That's what he says.
But so there's like, he has like a grave and like a sword sticking out of
Next
it.
to the cabin.
Yeah.
Next to the exploded
But it's
cabin.
just like a pile. Like it's not even deep. It's like he just piled dirt on top of like Desiree's body, like, but it's on the ground. Like,
But like, how did he get Desiree's
exactly.
body?
Where did that come from?
It's
That's evidence. That was in the morgue.
It's like, and how is that still in
well,
the...
Richie pretended to be murdered, and Duncan snuck into the morgue to view the body, and then
And the
snuck
sword, which
Desiree's
was
body
evidence.
up.
Also, like, it's been days. So, like, that is like, was it still in the cabin? If so, it is ripe.
Well, the first person.
And then where's
that
he put the sheriff? Like, he clearly had to bury
He
Lucas.
murdered.
Maybe he buried them together in that shallow grave he
an
dug.
officer of the law.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't he be concerned about this? Like, going into hiding.
Yeah,
It does seem like he should need to lay low. Because,
Yeah.
like, all this guy's only friends are cops.
Yep.
Like,
Oh, okay. Here's a weird thing. So that's the episode. The credits roll. It's like picture of the grave with a sword in it,
enter Queen.
and then Queen blaring. So all like the nerd shit I looked up was so I looked at the Watcher Chronicles. So the sheriff's name, now I have it because again it probably is uttered like once in the episode.
Yeah.
It's Sheriff Howard Crowley. But this is what doesn't track. This whole episode is. He was born in 1901 in Des Moines, Iowa.
What? Why is he obsessed with the Confederacy?
Why does he have a real thick Southern accent? Confederacy? I don't understand any of that. It says he died in Iwo Jima in 1942.
Okay.
So wait, he's a 41-year-old man?
When he died initially. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. They didn't do a good job writing that up.
They did not. He's just kind of a lackluster villain.
Yeah, the villain I think could have been interesting.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
And he's also-
flashbacks with the villain.
Well, I just don't. They also hadn't found like their touch for subtlety yet. Because it's no surprise that like the least developed villain is also the least over the top. Like,
yeah, he doesn't really have any good dialogue. He's not like
except for that creepy "his family owned your family" line.
Yeah, that
good
was
God,
awful. And why is Powell like so okay with interrogating Leo with this like obviously racist like sheriff?
I don't know.
You think as soon as that line came out, he'd be like, "Okay, I'm getting jurisdiction on this case or something."
Yeah,
you're out.
Just like, all right, this is what I got. I don't know.
Overall, not my favorite episode. Again, I feel like the Civil War stuff had there was something there.
Yeah,
and I feel like they in later episodes they revisit this time period with some different characters, and I think try to do something similar better. It's just this episode felt like a real lost like opportunity, I guess, for a good episode.
Yeah, I mean,
although I'm sorry.
I was just going to talk about Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah.
I don't think he was very good in this.
I was just going to say I thought he was kind of great. I don't know. I
don't know.
I guess he has a lot to do.
Yeah, I think he's kind of bad. I know he's in a lot of stuff. Just the way he reads the lines. Yeah, not to speak ill of the dead, but
to speak ill of the dead, displaying a very tragic condition.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, like. Something about it seemed like broad or something.
It is a little broad.
And I guess I thought he did well, but I didn't think the writing was quite made sense. Like, he kind of just has these, like, sort of outbursts that he does pretty well on. Yeah. Like, in terms of acting-wise. But, like, the outbursts themselves weren't very compelling.
Yeah.
And, like, he begins as almost this weird comic relief character. So then have it like get so serious so quickly is a little bit jarring.
Almost a more interesting episode would be like an immortal with like PTSD. Like, how do you live through 1,000 years of war and death and be like emotionally okay?
Yeah,
like that's a good episode.
Like that would have been great. Like if that bullet through the face was what killed him for the first time. Yeah. So he's got PTSD from this event, but he also just can't. He can't physically move on from it either. Like he always will look exactly the same way he looked when he was, went through this horror. Like that would have been interesting.
That he has like the physical scar of the emotional tragedy.
Yeah. So then like Duncan, and then like maybe you see him like do, even if you wanted to do a Rambo kind of thing, like maybe he does then something bad, and like Duncan needs to figure out what to do because this is not an evil person. It's
it's a sick person. Yeah, those are compelling episodes. So
and then the sheriff actually has something to do. He can be like the Brian Dennehy style.
See, even copying this Rambo thing, we just wrote a better episode.
Yes, we did. Yeah. All right. So I guess that's about it for this episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks everybody for listening to episode 4. Make sure you follow Aim and Doc.
Yep, Aim and B Doc on Twitter and Instagram. Check out some fun art and some Highlander art there too.
You gotta sell this more, man. It's awesome art.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny.
It is very funny.
It's fucking great. So follow
I'll work
Eamon
on that PR.
Yeah, and also follow us on Twitter at The Rewatchers, and also make sure to like us on Facebook at Highlander Rewatched. And if you have any interact with us, tell us what you think about the show. Let us know your comments. Add any extra Highlander knowledge you have, which would be really fun. Just write us at HighlanderRewatched@gmail.com. Make sure to rate us on iTunes and tell your friends all about us. Follow us on Instagram too. We're at Highlander Rewatched on Instagram. And these have been your Highlander Rewatchers for episode 4, The Innocent Man. Keith,
Kyle,
Eamon.
All right, see everybody next week.
Bye.